Hello and welcome to the Sherry Welsh Coaching Podcast. My name is Phil Johnson, and joining me today, of course, is Sherry Welsh. Sherry is a leadership coach. She works with professionals, individuals privately, and groups within companies. And she's also written a book. The title is Slowing Down: Unexpected Ways to Thrive as a Female Leader. And you can get that book from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other major book retailers. And just a reminder, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, the Sherry Welsh Coaching Podcast, on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, or other podcast directories. Sherry, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, Phil. It's great to be here.
Now, Sherry, we just finished a 3-part podcast series on your trust model, which is up on your website at sherrywelsh.com/downloads. And the three pillars, you could say, of that trust model, the three big factors that determine whether trust is growing or trust is eroding in our relationships, both professionally and personally, are, from your observation in your work with your clients, integrity, transparency, and communication. And in those podcasts, we had kind of a nutshell definitions for each of those. Integrity really is just doing what you say you're going to do. Transparency is getting everything on the table. And communication is asking for what you want. And we covered those in quite a bit of detail in those 3 episodes that we just finished up. And today we want to move on to talk about some scenarios that you've come across in your coaching and just see how these 3 elements of integrity, transparency, and communication are playing out in the real world. So maybe you can take it from there and get us started.
Sure. So what I thought we could do is just kind of talk through some situations that I've encountered working with clients and that I've also encountered in my own life, where the 3 points of the trust model continuously come up as the critical elements of building and developing strong, trusting relationships. So what I found with clients in the professional arena, as far as the workplace goes and in their areas of business and all different industries, it's the common theme that keeps coming up is where clients have had their boss cancel the scheduled one-on-ones that they've agreed to have. And one-on-one meetings with their boss tend to be really valuable. It's a chance to share what's going on in your particular area of responsibility, as well as ask for help from your boss, elevate issues as appropriate. And it's for your boss to get a sense of what difference you're making, what contribution you and your team are providing for the organization. So it's a really important meeting to have to stay in connection with each other. And what I'm finding with many of my clients, they come to sessions, coaching sessions, and talk about, I'm really frustrated. My boss keeps canceling or postponing our one-on-ones. And I have one client where this was happening on such a regular basis that she really hadn't talked to her boss, who was in another state, in another site, for several months.
Yeah.
And in business, it's constantly changing. There's constant evolution of the business and factors that drive you to make different decisions and create different processes, maybe that need to be new or altered or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And if you're not in sync and aligned with your boss, it can really create a sense of isolation and, oh God, it's all falling on my shoulders, which will take you down to your level 1 victim energy.
Yeah.
So when the boss continues to postpone or cancel the scheduled one-on-one meeting that you're ready for and you're excited to have and it's not happening, it's easy to go down to level 1. Well, the client that I've been working with in this particular case said, I don't know what to do about it. He's the boss. It's up to him on how when he has his meetings and what he schedules and what he doesn't schedule. And I said, well, let's talk about that, because you've created a clear agreement that you're going to meet once a month for a one-on-one meeting. And as long as that's been a strong co-created agreement, then it's not just up to the boss of when they have this meeting and when they don't. So you're an equal part in that. And you want to come to it from a level 5 true partnership approach. And so if you think about the trust model, you say, all right, how can I ask for what I want? Based on the situation, his integrity, in this case, is really declined because he said he was going to have this meeting with me and he keeps changing it or postponing it or canceling.
Right. He's not doing what he said he was going to do.
Exactly. He's not honoring his word.
And also not being transparent about why he's canceling.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Phil, because that's what happens when you say, well, when can we have it? Well, I don't know, I got to check my calendar. So it's all very vague and very unknown. And that creates fear in anyone, the unknown, or uncertainty, I should say. So in that case, a couple points of the trust model were being affected here. There wasn't transparency, the integrity had declined, and the communication was really minimal at best.
And the communication is on both sides then, because the boss isn't communicating, but it sounds like your client wasn't communicating either.
Absolutely. That's the key, is that just because your boss isn't communicating very effectively doesn't mean you have to continue to allow that to be okay. Because that's not helpful. That's not useful for the organization and the results that you're both wanting to accomplish in this particular relationship that you have.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help anyone and it doesn't serve the business to continue to let the boss cancel the one-on-one meetings because they are valuable and they do have a purpose. And unless those meetings are really not useful, then it's up to you as the individual not to allow them to be canceled.
Yeah.
So we talked about this in our coaching session, and she is willing to be courageous to ask for what she wants. And she realized that, well, it starts with me asking for the meeting to be kept on the calendar. And we talked about different options. Maybe if it's a 60-minute meeting and that's not feasible based on what's going on with the business, ask your boss to at least have a 30-minute call to allow the connection to stay intact. And that's what she did. She put in a call to him, spoke to him. He was totally receptive, appreciated her honesty and her openness, which is the transparency part, and took her words, really listened to her, and took her words as, oh my God, I see that me canceling is detrimental, not just to you and not just to me, but to everyone else as well that I've done it to, because it's not personal. It's typically a behavior that's happening to many people.
Yeah.
So he really appreciated her speaking up, asking for what she wanted. He took it to heart. He committed that he would do his best from this point forward to honor the scheduled meeting. And it's 2 months later now, and he is honoring it. And she's thrilled because he's keeping his word. He's showing up. He's happy. He's saying to her over and over, thank you for what you did by having that conversation with me.
Yeah.
He feels better. He's more productive. He's more engaged with the rest of his team. So it was really a win-win that occurred as a result of really seeing that this is what's happening. I'm allowing this trust to erode here. And that's not helpful, given that I want to stay in this company working for this person. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy this company and what they're up to, and I like my boss. And so I'm going to do something about it. And she did. And it's really been an amazing result.
That's great. I like that illustration because I think a lot of times, maybe I listen to your 3 podcasts on the trust model, and I become aware of how these elements of integrity, transparency, and communication are playing out in some of my own relationships. But it's only on my side that there's an awareness. And I think this illustration helps to see how, kind of in a unilateral way, I can put this into practice and come up with a really good result. So I like that illustration. Yeah,
and well, if I could just add one more thing to that, Phil.
Sure.
Because I think it's important what you said is the way that you approach it is the key. So when you approach it from a level 5 true partner energy and ask for what you want with an understanding and a sharing of an openness, a transparency in this case, an openness of why it matters that we have this one-on-one, that we continue, then the other person is more receptive, which is how this exactly played out. If you come to the situation and you're the one aware that the trust is eroded and it's not you, it's them type mentality, that's coming from a level 1. Poor me, I can't believe you did this again to me. You're the boss. I can't believe that or level 2 even, right?
Right, or you start responding in level 2, and they don't know why you're on edge and fighting about things because they don't realize what they've done.
Exactly, and they get defensive, right? Well, you don't understand what's going on for me. You don't understand that I've had to cancel. I don't have enough time in the day to get everything done. I'm really, really busy. So you're not getting anywhere. You're just now two people frustrated with each other.
Yeah.
So it's really important, as you said, if the other person isn't aware of what they're doing, they're not, understanding the impact of their actions and the lack of integrity, meaning they haven't done what they said they were going to do, then it is up to you, because it's your life. You're the one that has the problem with it. You're the one that wants it to improve. Speak up. Share with them what's going on and why it matters. And it's amazing how people really do want to do good things in the world. They do want to help each other. They do want to support you when they're the boss. Bosses really do want to support their team. Anyway, I just wanted to add that because I think that's an important part of it, is how you come to it, how you talk about it.
Right.
Not just talking about it.
Yeah. And I can imagine from the boss's point of view, when they're approached in that level 5 partnering sort of way, their perception of that employee would go up, I would imagine, because you realize this is a person that really cares about our working relationship and about getting things done in the most efficient, the best way, and they want to maintain this relationship.
You got it. You got it. That's exactly what happens from my experience. Yep, that's exactly it.
Okay. Well, how about do you have another example in the professional realm?
Yeah, I have lots of them. One recent one that I think might be beneficial to talk about is a group that I was coaching recently. And this happens in a couple of the groups that I've worked with over the past couple years, is there's an underlying distrust among the team. And sometimes that's coming from the behavior of the boss. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's coming from the behavior of someone on the team that hasn't been transparent. They've withheld information. They think knowledge is power, so they hold back. So I had a team of people that really spoke outwardly to me that they didn't trust each other. And, I had several individual conversations and the same theme kept coming up. That, there's not a trust among the team and this and that. So it was looked at as a problem with the team and not an individual, I can do something about it.
Yeah.
So that's when I drew the trust model for them when I was working with them, and it came to light that, okay, this is really what's going on here. There's a lack of transparency about what the direction of this group is, who's going to be at the head of this group over the next couple years, because it's a point in time where it's going to change. There's a changing of the guard coming. And so there's a lot unknown right now. So when it's unknown, a lot of times leaders in a company don't want to share anything because they don't have the answer that they think people want. What happens, though, is that creates distrust. That creates an underlying lack of grounding, of direction, of solidarity as well.
Yeah.
So it bubbles under the surface.
Is that just a matter of not wanting to say, I don't know?
Exactly. It could be that the leaders don't know that's an option, right? And it's always an option. That this is the best I know up to this point, is what you can always say. And be true about it. And that is what it comes down to. So the transparency part of the trust model is really key in team dynamics, because it is knowing that not everything is going to be able to be put on the table to be discussed. There is a timing element to certain decisions that get made in companies.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of confidentiality that is necessary at certain points. And that is to be respected, but also can be shared in that way. Okay, this is where we are in the process. And that's what we ended up doing with this team. We talked about, okay, let's talk about where you are in the process of knowing when announcements will be made. What do you want to do right now that can strengthen the work you do together to get ready for when you do have that changing of the guards?
So is that transparency then in some situations, maybe in this situation, is saying, I'd like to be able to tell you the answer to your question, but the fact is that right now it's something that's still being worked on or discussed, and it's not the right time to share it yet. Is that how that transparency might look?
Exactly. And you want to maybe give a bit more than that, just to not have it be too vague. Mm-hmm. So then get into, okay, this is how the timing of this announcement works. It's being worked on over the next 2 weeks to 2 months.
Yeah, okay.
It could be a range is given because you don't know, right, how long it's going to take. So over the next 2 weeks to 2 months, this is discussed with this group of people. We then will have a subcommittee meeting. The formal announcement is scheduled for July 2nd or whatever the date is. So you can lay out a little bit of a timeline as best as you know it, mm-hmm. that helps put at ease the rest of the team so they can get back to focus on what's important right now. And that's the transparency of it. That's what, in that situation, transparency looked like.
So was there kind of a conclusion with that particular group?
Yeah, well, they're still ongoing with the changes that are coming. But yeah, from our session together in that particular case, it was really talking to each other in a different way, communicating with each other openly and honestly. And when something isn't clear, they learned how to ask for clarity. We worked on the empowering questions, the open-ended questions. They really, and throughout the sessions we did together, I heard it over and over. Okay, let me clarify that. Wait, can you clarify what you just said? I mean, it was amazing the dynamics of how they shifted and started to really listen to each other.
Yeah.
And respect each other and get different ideas going and participate fully with each other. And it's an ongoing process. So there's continuous practice with that and work they can do to get better and better at that. But it's where the trust model came in that gave them a frame of reference that they kept going back to and seeing that, okay, everything's on the table. Okay, I get that. Now I can work with it. Now I can really come up with something that we can move forward with. So that's how it wrapped up for that particular session. Yeah.
Good. I like that with this trust model, that if you're not aware of any of this, then it can be negatively impacting you and you don't know what's going on or what to do. Mm-hmm. But once you see these three elements in action, it's not incredibly difficult to begin to practice it and to begin to apply it. And that's neat. You can see some good results pretty quickly.
Exactly. It is. You want to keep it as simple as possible. And that's where these three elements kept coming up for me as I was working with clients over the past couple of years. And we all have trust and throughout our lives, there's trust in every relationship that you build or it declines.
Yeah. So we have a few minutes left. I wonder if you could give us an example or two more on the personal side of how you've seen the trust model in action.
Yeah, I mean, there's, as a parent, I have it with my teenage son. There's different scenarios there that we could always talk about. With me personally, I have a friend who is just a dear friend who is Italian by birth. And she's chronically late for everything. And over time, I started to not trust her with counting on her being there or counting on her if she said, you can always call me anytime. I really couldn't and didn't believe I could because she would not be where she said she was going to be. And this happened multiple times. So it's not just one time you never trust the person again. It's really a pattern of behavior. So for a long time, she was chronically late whenever we would meet. And I finally got to a point where I saw, okay, I haven't really talked to her about this. And I haven't come up with maybe a different approach where, we would make an agreement to meet somewhere, and then I would say, well, listen, I'm not going to leave here until you call me and tell me that you're there. And I'll be there in 5 minutes, because wherever we were meeting was close to where I was. And she's like, that's fine, because that helped her manage her side of it. She's like, that works. I'll call you as soon as I'm parking, and perfect. And so we changed the way we interacted with each other to have a more enjoyable relationship, that we could still meet and have fun together and enjoy each other's company as friends. And I could trust that would work, and that it would be an enjoyable time together. But it was after long time of frustration and resentment and cursing under my breath. I can't believe she's late again. I'm sitting here by myself. I look like a loser, whatever it would be. And she was busy at work or whatever. And she's, we were friends for 20 years. I mean, she's just, an amazing person. But over time, it really got to a point where I just had it. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, I can do something different. I can change the way this is playing out. And it's after I'd gotten into coaching that I learned this, and have really done it, and it's worked really well. And so she and I, we're in different states now, so we're not 5 minutes down the road. But it really did change the way we interacted and kept our friendship intact, basically.
Yeah. I think in friendships, we've all either had that friend or been that friend who's always late.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you don't enjoy being with that person, but you have to adjust somewhat to how and when you're going to get together. And I like how you applied that, just to shift it. Because she probably knew, I'm always late. I'm always making her wait. And she might even have felt bad. I made Sherry wait again. So that took care of her too.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the point, right? When we talked about it and I changed the way we were going to do it, she was really grateful. She's like, it took like a big load off her, because it didn't feel good for her to feel like she was always apologizing, always, letting me down, even though she wasn't, but she felt like she was. And I at times thought so too, before I understood this better. I learned later that that's the Italian way of life. That's what they do. And it's part of their culture. So that's what she was used to in her family.
Yeah. And
that wasn't what I was used to. Being a part of a German company for 20 years. Mm-hmm. You're punctual, you're on time, you're efficient, It was just two different worlds colliding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have another, I don't know, it's kind of a mix of a personal and business. I have by chance, a husband and wife that I coach, the two clients. And it started with the wife. She was a client first, and I was coaching her with her professional career. And it as it always does, moves into coaching her life, which includes her marriage and her role as a mom and a sister and a daughter. And over time, with the work she was doing for herself, she was really practicing different, communication skills, different ways of being. She understood the 7 levels of energy leadership. She was applying it. She was learning how to really listen differently. And her husband, when I met him, was like, oh my God, it's changed our marriage, this coaching and all the work she's done. I said, well, it's all her. She's the one showing up. Well, he then had engaged me to coach him in his company and the work that he's doing in his career. And so we would have a couple sessions together, husband and wife, and then we had our separate engagements that I was working individually with them. And it's been amazing to see how they now talk to each other, how it's affected the way they are husband and wife and cohesive parents to their 4 young kids. Mm-hmm. How they, consistently talk about their circle of friends. They have a very active social life. They have an extended family that's very strong and does a lot together. So the coaching that we've done together, and the work they've done together with themselves and using what they've learned for energy leadership and then the trust model, how they communicate with each other, how they're more open and honest and transparent with each other, that they now call each other on their integrity. Like if someone doesn't do something they said they were going to do, the way they talk to each other about it, the way they share with each other openly has really just changed their life, both of their lives and their marriage. And it's really fun for me to get to be a part of that experience and watch it and watch both of them be very successful in their careers and see how they're parenting and loving their kids and just doing amazing things together.
I can imagine with two people that are engaged in the process, being aware of the energy levels and this trust model, and both seeking to apply it consistently in their personal and professional lives. That would be a powerful thing.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting to be a part of it and watch it unfold. And it's just like, oh God, if we can just do this, across the board, it would be an amazing world, really.
Great. Well, thanks, Sherry. I think it's been good to talk about a few scenarios where people are applying this, how they brought it to bear in their professional life with their boss, with their husband, with their wife, with their kids, with their friends, all these different ways. It's really helpful.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add to that, Phil, if it's okay, is it takes a lot of courage to apply and ask for what you want and to be transparent and open. And it takes courage to really want to live consciously and make a difference that way. So I really applaud everyone, including myself, I'm practicing it myself, that shows up and wants to ask for what they want and make a difference. And all of the clients that I'm working with, it's so amazing to see their courage and being open and willing to work at this. Yeah, and their lives are getting better as a result, and so is mine when I work with my coach. It's just been unbelievable. So it's not just studying it on a piece of paper, or getting the information, and then things change. It's really working at it and having the courage to do that.
Yeah, great. Thanks for being with us today, Sherry.
Yeah, thanks, Phil.
And thank you also for being with us. I hope listening to this podcast and the other ones covering the trust model will inspire more of you who are listening to take hold of these things and apply them in your life. Be sure to be with us again next time. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of these podcasts, you can subscribe on iTunes or a number of other podcast directories. For Sherry Welsh today, this is Phil Johnson. Thanks again for listening.